Social Security, the safety net that promises financial security in retirement. But hold on a minute. Is it really as secure as we've been led to believe? Let's explore the origins, the sustainability challenges, and the uncomfortable truths that politicians often sweep under the rug.
This is all a scam. I mean, we got people that's getting ready to retire that's going to try to live off $2,000 to $3,000. Impossible. It's impossible. Because what happens, it comes up here, we spend it. We're $35 trillion in debt. We don't have union money. We're dead broke. And then taxpayers have $2 trillion in credit card debt. We are in huge trouble. In this body, we had better start figuring that out, because we're going to have a run on this city here soon, and there's going to be about 150 million people coming up here saying, where's our damn money that we paid in? I could have put my Social Security money, 40 years, in tax, in the market, and probably be worth 8 to 10 million today. But the federal government wasted it.
So let's rewind a bit. Social Security, as we know it, didn't just magically appear. It emerged during times of economic upheaval, like the Great Depression in the 1930s. Back then, policymakers saw the struggles of the elderly who lacked financial resources. They needed a solution, and thus, Social Security was born. Countries like Germany set the stage with early systems, and the US followed suit under President Roosevelt's New Deal. Fast forward to today, and we're facing a different kind of crisis, one of sustainability. You see, Social Security is facing some serious challenges that make its future look, well, uncertain. First off, there's the demographic time bomb. Our populations are aging rapidly, with fewer young workers entering the labor force to support the growing number of retirees. It's simple math. More people drawing benefits, fewer people paying into the system. Not a good equation for long-term financial health. Then there's the economic elephant in the room. Slow growth, rising healthcare costs, and changing labor dynamics are squeezing the life out of Social Security funds. We're talking about a system that was designed for a different era, struggling to keep up with the realities of today's economy. And let's not forget longevity. People are living longer, which is great news for quality of life, but not so great for the Social Security checkbook. More years in retirement mean more benefits paid out, putting additional strain on an already strained system. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Political influence. Oh yes, politics always has a seat at the table when it comes to Social Security. Short-term policy decisions driven by electoral cycles often take precedence over long-term sustainability. Why worry about tomorrow when today's votes are on the line? Budgetary pressures play a role too. Social Security finds itself competing with other government priorities for limited funds. When the Budget Act swings, guess who's often left bleeding? Yep, you guessed it. Our beloved Social Security.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out when Social Security was first founded, those who established it, it was started out as a 2% tax, and they said this will never take more than 6% of your income. Today it takes 12.4%, but over time it has expanded massively, and the money has been spent every year. So whereas everybody thinks this money's been set aside for me, no, for the past 13 years, every dollar that has gone out of workers' paychecks has gone immediately to pay promised benefits. And that's what happens when you have a system that enables those in charge of it to spend the money in the immediate term and leave the buck to the next generation that's coming along.
Those payroll taxes you've been faithfully paying, they're supposed to be safeguarded in a trust fund, invested in government securities for safekeeping. But what happens if those investments don't yield as expected? What happens if the trust fund gets mismanaged or redirected for other purposes? Suddenly that safety net starts looking a lot more like a tightrope. So, where does this leave us? Is Social Security doomed to collapse? Social Security isn't the ironclad guarantee it often was portrayed to be. It's a complex system facing real challenges. Addressing these concerns will require thoughtful policy adjustments, increased fiscal responsibility, and bipartisan cooperation to safeguard Social Security for future generations. So let's address the biggest concern. Is it going to collapse in 10 years?
Well, here's a projection for you, 10 years. That's how long before Social Security goes broke, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Millions of Americans are facing the prospect of losing their monthly checks, and the government isn't doing anything about it.
Given these factors, it's important to note that Social Security is not expected to completely run out in the sense that it would cease to exist. Instead, the concern is about the ability of the program to pay full benefits on time without changes to its funding or structure. If no action is taken to address the projected shortfall, benefits could be automatically reduced in the future. However, policymakers have options to strengthen Social Security's finances, such as increasing payroll taxes again, adjusting benefit formulas, raising the retirement age, or introducing other reforms. So that leaves us with one final question. Is it time to abolish Social Security as a whole and find a more modern solution?
What's the solution?
I think we ultimately have to shift towards a universal benefit system. And I think that workers need an option to have their money in something that actually earns a positive rate of return and that can't just immediately be spent by Congress.
I have a 28 and 29-year-old, 2 boys, got a job, working hard, paying Social Security. They ask me all the time, Dad, will I ever see any of that money? Will they see it?
I think they will see some of it, but it's not going to be what has been promised.